Gather round. It's time for your Real Estate Chalk Talk with the Hittner Group at Coldwell Banker. Listen closely as your coaches discuss the culture, the economy, and the political scene, and how it affects your home and your real estate investments. Real Estate Chalk Talk is where you learn the science of buying and selling real estate and the art of living in your home. Your education begins in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, welcome to the program. This is your Real Estate Chalk Talk, 612-627-8000, 612-627-8000. Kelvin seems to be a little bit challenged on plugging in his microphone.
There you go. Got me?
Yeah, you got you now.
Our guest.
Hittnergroup.com, Hittner Group.
All gotta get the pranks going. Let's get the pranks going.
In a minute.
All right.
What's up, guys?
Real estate, 36th week of the big year.
Yep.
In real estate.
Third trimester.
Third trimester coming up.
We're in it.
7-county metropolitan area report, real estate update. The state fair is closed shop, and the majority of public schools are back in business with the kids back in school. Thank God for that.
Thank God.
So the question is will the next 60 days or so, we had an obvious slowdown like we always do in August and State Fair and Labor Day, people going back to the cabins and getting them closed down and that kind of thing. So normal slowdown for that time of the year. So the question is will we rebound now and finish out the fourth quarter strong as typical as people try to get things wrapped up for the year? Year-to-date listings, really something. Sold units are down 21%. For year-to-date in 23. The total number of listed properties, all the properties that have come on the market this year is off 17.6%, so a decrease in that whole volume activity. The bottom line is that the 7-county metropolitan area, the month supply of inventory is gradually increasing. In some counties, it's
months of inventory?
Month supply of inventory.
Okay.
So how many months would it take if not another house was listed?
Yep.
How many months would it take to sell everything we've got in the pot?
Right. You go from a week 2 years ago to
now it's
where we are
over
at today.
2 months. Just barely over 2 months. Now normal cycle would say that somewhere in that 5-month range would be a balanced market. What is not being considered in that is new construction. And there was just an article this morning in Minnesota Business Journal that talking about why is new construction such a large percentage of the homes that are for sale in the Twin Cities, in the metropolitan area. I know the answer is obvious. You've got people, well, maybe it's not obvious, but
probably not obvious if they're asking the question.
It probably is not obvious, but part of it is that people are locked in. I mean, it's golden handcuffs.
Right.
Who's locked in?
The sellers.
Homeowners.
The homeowners.
Oh, locked in their homes. So
yeah.
So part of the problem is an inventory issue with existing homes.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and that makes that.
And the reason for that is
interest
they're
rates.
locked in.
They're locked in from their 3.5% interest rate, and so they're looking at perhaps someone is in a house that no longer fits their lifestyle or is smaller and they'd like a little bit more space or whatever the reason is that people move.
Right.
They'd love to, but at 8% interest or 7.5% or whatever the number is, Kelvin will tell us in the fourth segment. They look at the sticker shock from going from their current mortgage payment to the new payment, and it's like triple.
Right, but we had low inventory too over the last 5 years, so it seems like we've been having an inventory conversation, and there's just like always different reasons why.
Well,
so it just kind of moves as to
the reason is different, but we've got flow through that we didn't have before, or that we
what
had.
Do you mean by
we
flow
had
through?
Flow through. So you look at the flow through, and that is the contract ratio. So if you look at your total inventory, that is homes for sale, and how many pending sales do you have? Okay,
so I have 10 homes for sale.
So a couple years ago there was 10 homes for sale.
Okay.
And there were 20 homes pending.
Okay.
So the flow through, the velocity of the market was ridiculous.
Right.
Multiple offers and all that stuff. The house came on the market, boom, it was moving through.
Yep.
Now that ratio is down to under 1. I forget what, 62%. So now that means that if there's 10 homes for sale, there are 6 homes pending. That indicates a slowing market. The flow through is slower.
Right.
So we had low inventory before. I'm getting the answer to your question. We had low inventory before.
I don't know if I had a question.
Well, you said that why is there low inventory? The question is why do we have this low inventory? 2 years ago, we had low inventory because it was flying off the shelf so fast. We couldn't stock the shelf fast enough.
In addition to the fact that people couldn't find what they were looking for, so that they didn't list their home for sale. So we had pent up demand.
There was some of that too.
Or not pent up demand, but like this shadow inventory. Remember we talked about shadow inventory in the foreclosure days? But this shadow inventory of people that would move if they could find somewhere to go.
Right.
And that was another, like a log jam. Now we have a log jam due to interest rates, being locked into those rate situations with low interest rates currently on their existing home, high interest rates on where they're going to go buy. There's always these different reasons within.
And the solve for the log jam before was new construction. And you had the builders were having a heyday, and new construction volume went from 15% of the market to over 30% of the market.
That or going into sellers specifically that, developments and being like you trying to engage with those shadow inventory sellers to move the transactions forward. So you have a split level guy that wants to sell their home. Like those are other ways to do that.
Right. That's a one-off kind of way to do it.
Right now you can't really do that.
Right.
Because
the interest rates are so high.
Because the interest rates are insane.
And
so there's no real benefit to have the conversation for.
And what we're seeing now in the transactions that are moving through is we're back to points. We're back to seller concessions. Seller concessions. Oh yeah. Seller concessions, paying points so that the buyer can buy the rate down.
Yeah. Yep. You were seeing
not for
some
closing costs, but they're buying the rate down.
Yep.
And the builders are offering incentives now.
Yeah. Interest
rates incentives to get the rate
from a
down.
Marketing standpoint, they're saying 5% or which sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Compared to what the rate is, and so that helps your overall monthly mortgage payment. Interestingly enough,
but they build it all into.
Of course it is.
Of course they do. Right. Yeah. That's why I say. Crazy. That's why I say it's a marketing incentive.
Yeah.
I know. It's frustrating to us though.
I have a client. We're closing on a new construction property in October, and she's now $875. She's now made the decision to pay cash for the home.
No.
She's like, good for her that she's in that position to be able to make that decision. But she was going to finance the property, and the interest rates to lock into right now, and she's A paper, beautiful credit.
Yeah.
But the interest rates to lock into right now, when she has cash sitting over here, obviously a surplus of cash to be able to buy this house for $875,000 cash instead of financing that property. That's what she's deciding to do.
Now look at the wisdom of that, though. Are you telling me that your portfolio manager can't get you 7%? You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's a cost-benefit analysis right
that's
there.
That's exactly the argument we have with people why you do.
So that's nice to say in a vacuum.
Yes.
But if you have $3 million invested in the market and you have $2 million in cash and you have, $350,000 in your checking account,
I would drive a nicer car.
Well, she has a couple nice cars.
Okay.
But
I hear
and I don't know that that's the case there because we can say in a vacuum.
And the other side is
now you don't get the tax benefit and blah blah, which you're kind of phased out of that anyways because you make so much damn money.
Yeah.
The reality is if the money's just sitting in the bank at 5% and the interest rate is 8%,
you lost 3.
Yeah.
So that argument is a great argument when rates are 3, 4, 5.
Right.
When rates are hugging 8, tougher argument.
Plus, the expectation in the Twin Cities is that next year, and this is from the Fed, that home prices in the Twin Cities are going to increase by about 7%. So there's that. So she made a 7% investment. She bought a 7% asset.
Yeah.
That's going to appreciate at 7% at capital gains rates, by the way. So it'll be. And with an exemption when she goes to sell.
Yep.
So it's actually pretty good when you really crunch the numbers down on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, real estate still.
Yeah,
is the
so if
best
you
deal
can make
ever.
it work.
What was your point with that? Just that people are paying cash?
Yeah.
My point is people are making different decisions because of interest rates.
Yes, they are, and
Yeah.
over
You know, very
a
different
third.
decisions. Some of them are I can't move or I'm not going to move because I don't choose to do that. Now, for her, cash money 875. If you guys are right and you're telling me that interest rates will be in a position to refinance at some point, there's nothing saying that she can't suck out $400,000 in cash at 3% just
Correct.
a few years from now and then go invest the money.
Yep.
You know, so time value of money conversation there too, but I think people are making different decisions because interest rates are insane and you guys need to do something about it immediately.
Hittnergroup.com, Hittner Group.com, 612-627-8000. That's 612-627-8000. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back to the program. This is your Real Estate Chalk Talk. 612-627-8000 is the number to call. Give us a ring-a-ling-a-ling, and we'll be happy to chat with you about your real estate needs. Or go to HittnerGroup.com, Hittner Group.com. Check it out. Lots of stuff to see on their blog site. Save your searches, search for properties, all that good stuff you would expect on a fabulous real estate website. You know, I love looking at houses, right?
I know.
I love new construction and House. You ever go to House, Keith?
Yeah, a little bit.
House, I love that.
H-O-U-Z?
H-O-U-Z, I think
Something
it
like
is.
that? Okay.
And so I'm looking on that, and they're talking about one of my favorite topics is the fifth wall, and the fifth wall being the ceiling. So when we're designing houses for our builders, and one of the things that we're looking at, especially in kitchens, oddly enough, was the fifth wall, was the ceiling. What is the ceiling treatment in the kitchen that would make that pop? And so they were looking at, I know this is a little bit like going to throw you off, Keith Reno. Painting the ceiling in a den black. They were just all over.
I was just thinking that in my head. I was going to ask you and interrupt you and say, like, painting the ceiling black?
That's exactly right.
All right.
And so you look at a house and
Almost like related.
and,
Almost.
and I'm reminded of a model. I was telling Kelvin at coffee this morning of a model out in the farm out there in Lakeville. What's it called?
Spirit
Mountain.
Mountain.
Spirit. They had
Spirit of Branch and Farms.
Spirit of Branch and Farms.
Lakeville, Minnesota.
Right. So they had a model there. I forget who the builder was, but their den was black and white. And it made such a splash. Now, this was many years ago when they were first opening up that development. And, I mean, there are people lined up during the parade to go in to see that model because it was so
Coming just
sharp.
to see the den.
Yes.
I bet.
Yes. Because that house had been, really forward-thinking in its decorating.
Yeah.
And I remember going in and looking at that and thinking, wow,
Pretty cool.
this is very cool.
And maybe with a little brushed brass.
It could have some brush blast. Okay, so brush blast. Okay, so here's a
God, say
standing
that
joke,
10 times
everybody.
fast.
So I have shiny brass in my house, and I keep on saying it's coming back.
When did you build that house? 2002?
23 years ago.
2001?
So I keep saying she's coming back, right?
Coming back.
Well, it took a while for it to go out, so it's only been really out.
No, it was out when you built it.
He was out of money. Like, I'll take those.
Those were the discount jobs.
So anyhow,
Discount knobs.
so it's coming. My wife likes the
He was on the tail end
Scotty.
of that.
My
You were
wife
on the
likes
tail end of
Scotty,
that.
so everything that she likes that stuff. Anyhow, so where I'm out in the M&I house, we wrote an offer on M&I house on Sunday, and I'm in their kitchen, and they have white cabinets with brass hardware on it.
But they're not shiny
I
brass.
know, so I took
he
a picture
sends
of
me
it.
a-
And sent it
He
to
sends
him.
me a picture. See? Brass is coming back. I was
Coming
like,
back.
Nope. I bet they call that champagne bronze.
That's exactly.
That's not brass. But it is sharp.
It is
A
sharp.
little black, white, some, and then mixing metals too.
Mixing metals.
So within that space. But back to the ceiling
back
treatments.
to the ceiling treatments.
You walk into a house now. Let's say it's built in early 90s. Doesn't matter. Somewhere early 90s. We know what we're talking about.
Right.
And you walk in the dining space, and you'll see racetrack ceilings.
Yeah.
Racetrack ceilings, cove ceilings,
Yep.
things like that. In the early 90s, racetracks were
Big deal.
kind of a big deal,
Yeah.
right? And they might be popcorn, they might be knockdowns.
Right.
But it's not just paint that you can do with that fifth wall, right?
Right.
You can make some additional treatments.
and
like in your
best.
in your office space, do you have some like beams or coved in your office space at home or not?
In the library.
In your library.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another way to do it is put those kind of square, not square, but beams across that crisscross like a checkerboard.
Yep.
And then
That
have
looks really good.
sheetrock in there, and then can lighting in those spaces.
Right.
So really doing something with that.
And there's so much
that's
that you
sharp.
can do.
Real
Like
cool.
the
And
race
it changes that. We talk a lot about what makes a house 800,000
No
or
kidding.
1.3. Like,
Yes.
how do you go from
It's
800 to
that-
one? Add $500,000. It's these little details in the home that are going to help kind of turn around your overall value. I was talking with a friend of mine, and I'll let you get in there a little bit. He's sending me these houses, and he's over improved his home. So he's got a bunch of money into a house in Egan. Very nice home, but it's like a 6-bedroom, 5-bath, pool, walkout basement in a neighborhood that probably will crest at like $799, and he's probably got $1.2 million into this property.
Yeah.
So those are the things that I talk with him about. Like, do you have these extras in the property?
Right.
Because maybe you get a Vikings player or executive or something to just buy it because
they like it.
it has all these extra things, right? But that's what helps you jump value $500K.
Yep. It's interesting, even like woodwork. Like when you look at homes, you're looking at them online or in your own home. It's the length or how tall is the woodwork on the floor?
How tall and how thick.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy?
Yep.
And
If
then
it's
what
just like
in
the
the
cheap-
corners? What do they do? It's just like
cheap
that
2-inch, cheap 2-inch or 2.5-inch casement, or a nice 5-inch casement, and then back to the ceiling. Crown moldings are another way to enhance.
Is that still a thing that people will go along the edge, going
That's
ceiling
like
down?
That's almost like the crown moldings are around the edge, the
Right.
cove.
Yep.
The coves coming down. We can go back in the Richfield and the little houses.
They
down
all
there,
have them
had,
probably?
because it was a nice feature. These are actual details that you can put in, and you can layer them, and there's just so much you can do with them. But it goes well beyond that. The wood on the ceiling is a big deal. The beadboard on the ceiling, painted beadboard on a ceiling.
Beadboard. What's beadboard?
It's like
your tongue and groove?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And-
got
and
it.
More
it's
of
1
a
inch.
thinner tongue and
Yeah.
groove. Talking and staying on the ceiling topic, another place that you can add ceiling treatment is in your outdoor space. So your outdoor space
Yes.
underneath your deck
Yep.
area.
Yep.
There's a lot that you can do, and again, these are things that will just enhance the value of the property. If you have a walkout 2-story and a nice pool in the backyard, and you walk out that walkout basement to enter the pool area, and you look up and it's just
Open deck.
there's the bottom of the deck.
Yeah.
Or you can add can lighting, you can add fans, you can add speakers. And then you're water treating that, so the water is shedding away from that area,
that's
and
what-
you're creating
An
like
outdoor
a little
living space.
cabana
Yeah.
in your outdoor space.
Yeah, the one we have under ours, it's white, with just and it down a little bit so the water runs, the gutter takes away, fan light, everything under.
Nice.
It shifts it dramatically.
Sure.
with how it looks under there.
Yeah, 'cause
and,
pretty soon
and
you
the
can-
bottom of the steps, same thing, all covered,
Yep,
so
all
you don't
nice.
have any of that.
And so you can utilize that space as opposed to staying away from it,
Right.
or just using it for like a storage space or something like that.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at houses. I was just looking the other day on houses in Egan because I was curious about how many homes were for sale under $500,000 in Egan. Because I looked in May and there was none. Yesterday there was 27.
Nice.
But then I just looked at everything in Egan. There's a couple, some $1 million homes for sale in Egan. So I'm just looking at the pictures because I'm always curious about. Okay, you got two homes. They're both big. They're both obviously nice. What makes one worth $1.8 million and the other one worth $2.3 million? You know what I'm saying? I mean, what makes the difference there?
Is there a house on the market for $2.3 million in Egan?
Yeah.
Is that the big giant rambler?
Yes. Yeah. And you look in there, and it is the interior features of the house.
Yeah.
Because once it's so many square feet, I mean, it's big as big. And so what inside there now do you do to really make it so when you walk into the house, it's like, wow.
What was the wow in that?
The wow, the interior fireplace was kind of a wow of it. One of it was on like an acre and a half, so it was on a little bigger home site. The coming up to it, just the approach to it and all that stuff, had quite an impact. it's also been on the market for a while, so we'll see how
what the actual sales price is.
what the actual sale
Yeah,
price
there
is
are
gonna
a
be.
couple of big dogs on the market.
Yeah, there was 3 of them.
Another one over by our church, I think. I don't remember if this is like the Rocco Altobelli house that's back in there off of Deerwood. That's one, and then there's another one on the north side, like north of Great Oaks. That
the Great Oaks one. Yeah, there's another Great Oaks one.
Yeah, has been on the market for a little while. Cul-de-sac, that's got a big lot.
Yeah.
Nice setting.
Very nice.
Tucked back in, but yeah, it's those details on
We
the
just
inside.
sold one over there. Amy sold one over there, 900 and change
Yeah,
right in that
right.
neighborhood. Yeah.
Exactly.
Are you guys still seeing people putting tile? You know, like the copper tile on the ceilings?
That's a treatment you can do too. You can do the
I
old
think
school.
that looks really cool.
Yeah.
In the bar area, you know, you can
Mhm.
separate space just by what you do with the ceiling. You know?
And that's what's so great about the ceiling effect, just
Mhm.
getting back to the fifth wall, is that it creates an environment that is completely unique to the rest of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't put black ceilings in the whole home, but if you wanted to define this, I'm not saying do black, but I'm just saying as an example, if you wanted to define a space and create an environment, a cozy environment, or just a different kind of a feel, that is certainly one way to do it, and it's pretty cost effective. To do it that
Interesting.
way, and it has a very dramatic. Well, a lot of them are doing now just a different tone. So if you've got a gray wall, just put a different shade of gray on the ceiling, maybe a little lighter gray, and use that same play off of those grays, and it just creates a dramatic.
Well, I'm going to take some of those tips and ideas to my my formal dining room remodel.
There you go. This is your Real Estate Chalk Talk. 612-627-8000. HittnerGroup.com. We'll be right back after these very important messages. Welcome back to the program. Thanks for staying with us. This is your Real Estate Chalk Talk. 612-627-8000. 612-627-8000. Okay, I'm going to continue a conversation that we had offline.
Okay.
Keith Areno is removing his dining room furniture from the formal dining room and making it a den.
Yeah, I have a pretty traditional 2-story center hall. Like you walk in, I have my office to the right, the dining room's to the left, and then my kitchen has a
Big kitchen.
big kitchen, center island, and then I have a big
Dining table.
dinette. I have a full size, 8-person table that will open up to be 30 feet long, and I have the space to open it up if I want to. And then I have the formal dining room in the front. So I just don't need, especially.
Is it a separate room, or is it
it's a
walk in
separate-
and then walk in?
Yeah, it's a separate room. I mean, there's a door with a arched
Okay.
walkway, and then the other side has an arch. There's no physical door,
No
but there's a
physical-
doorway.
I don't know,
Opening
I don't
that
get
leads to-
invited over a lot.
Yeah.
Opening that leads
Yeah.
to the kitchen.
Yeah,
you
an
know.
opening that leads to the kitchen and an opening for the entryway.
Mhm.
So I want to remove that table
Okay.
and then do some fun things with paint on the walls and furniture, change the light fixture so I can go in there and sit down and not have a TV in the room. My wife always wanted to put the piano in there, not have a piano in there,
Mm-hmm.
and just have a quiet space where I can sit and read, and kids can sit in there and do their homework when the other kids
Will
over
you have
there.
a desk in it?
No.
No desk. Okay, well, it's hard to do homework if you're trying to write stuff. And,
Have
my
you
paper.
seen children do homework? I mean, they
It's
have
on a
a
tablet.
laptop and sit cross-legged on a couch with a piece of paper on their notebook. They don't need a desk.
They do need desks.
No.
I think put desks in both.
Well,
Anyways, the
coffee
point
table.
is-
big square coffee table.
The point is, it's a fun space to do something with in your
Yeah.
house if you don't really do anything with it, which we don't. I mean,
Mhm. So what would you do paint-wise? Have you thought about that, or would
so
you do
in that
something
space, I
unique?
actually have the ceiling is painted a different color, so
Oh,
it's
it
not
is.
white.
Okay.
It's currently a shade darker than the wall color. So that's kind of fun. But I might change it to kind of incorporate a different light fixture in the ceiling. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do there. I was actually going to call our gal that's that we've used for staging for so many years to maybe have her come over and just
Give you some
look
ideas.
at it
Mhm.
and say, what would you do in here?
Right.
Not that I'm going to listen to you.
Right. Right.
I
Not
might
like I'm going to
to
listen to you.
If I like your ideas, I'll listen to you.
I'll let you.
Melissa, she's good.
Yeah, Melissa's good. She's great with space. She does a lot with new construction
Yeah.
models and stuff. She knows she knows her
Really
stuff.
good.
That's fun.
The reason that I bring this up again is because how many times have you been in a house and you've got 3 dining spaces kind of lined up in a row?
Right.
You know, you see that.
Seriously, and that's kind of how mine is. It's the formal dining room, then a giant, not giant, but a good-sized center island that all my kids can eat breakfast
area.
at.
Yep.
And then the dinette that is a full-size
5 feet away.
table. And they're all, it's
Yeah.
like from the front to the back of the house, 3 places to eat food. And when I have
One-
guests over, I'd rather have
I'd have the same. Yeah.
a place to chill
Yep.
You know, just another place. And if you want to sit there and eat when I have guests over, that's okay. You know, nice. Right?
Yeah.
So using that space, readapting that space and that is precisely why a lot of the newer floor plans no longer have a formal dining room. Just because it's just not how people do it anymore.
It is interesting as you're looking at homes online, though. There's not a lot of creativity in how they design homes. Walk in, wasted room here, wasted room there, and then a little room here, kitchen there. And that is 80% of the homes. It's just like, God, this is boring. You guys have no creativity.
Well, what would you do differently?
I would do a lot of things differently.
Well, name it. What would you do differently? I mean, you got a bunch of little square boxes that are called rooms. There's only so many ways you can arrange them.
See, that's not thinking outside the box right there.
That's
at all.
not at all.
Like,
I think where you put your staircase, they got to
makes
figure
a
out
huge difference.
Different thing that you just don't walk in. You go right up the steps. It just
that's up our house. There's no staircase there. It's in the living room on the other side.
I know. I like that.
You know who did a good job with that? Toll Brothers.
Really?
Yeah, Toll Brother design homes were well-designed homes. They don't build in our area anymore.
Kind of hid the staircase. Kind of
front-loading and rear-loading, but remember, they were also large.
Very big.
So they're big houses. So when you've got size to work with, a big footprint to work with,
easier.
It's a little bit easier to be creative with that. If you're working with a 800 or 1,000 square foot footprint and you're trying to make it a two-story, that's a little tough. You know, because you don't have room on the main level to do much of anything. One thing I got thinking about the other day is if I would have known, I would have done it differently. How many times have you heard that one? If only I would have known.
Oh God!
You know, I would have.
Where do we? We only have 5 minutes.
We only.
Keith, go ahead.
Yeah, I got a lot of that right now in my life.
But the thing of it is that that's the whole point when you get involved in something, and that's what it is about real estate, because there's a huge deal out there right now with the settlement of Anywhere settling this lawsuit. We've been talking about it off and on for the last few weeks. Huge lawsuit out there that's going to totally disrupt how we do real estate in the United States of America. It's going to be more of we don't know where it's going to wind up. We just know it's going to change. And part of that is where the buyers are going to have to engage and pay their own agent. That's the way it's kind of coming down. And so then there's thoughts of, well, maybe the mortgage, how are they going to do that? You got a first-time home buyer, has no money. How is he going to pay or she going to pay a real estate agent, $6,000 to help them find their house? And I was watching a podcast the other day, and they're interviewing people in the deal, and they're saying that mortgage companies are not going to do it. There's this thought that somehow the mortgage companies are going to figure out how to finance it, and they'd love that, but the agencies that they sell the loans to, not loving it.
Well, because you're inflating value, right?
Yes.
It's soft money. It
is soft money.
Yeah.
And then so that
why can't you guys just disclose better so that everybody knows who's paying?
Well, we already do.
Okay. Well, then what's the confusion?
It was sellers that brought the lawsuit, and on our listing agreements. Now I don't know how it is in other parts of the country, but in our company, in our Minnesota, when you sign a listing agreement with the seller, it's part of the listing agreement is how much you're going to pay to the other company.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Right.
And that's negotiable. A seller can say, no, I don't want to pay that.
They could put in $5,000. They could put in $1.
Right.
Okay.
Or we can put in $1. I mean, you can do that. Does it impact the marketability of the property? Well, absolutely it does. It absolutely does. And in some price ranges, it might not matter. It's going to sell anyhow, but probably not. You're probably
and in different market environments too. And we're coming off a very rapid.
And it changes quickly.
It does. Yeah.
It changes.
We're coming
quickly.
off a very rapid, swift, easy sellers market.
Yep.
And shifting to balanced. Probably get there at some point. So everybody needs everybody else in order to perfect a transaction again.
So I get back to my original question. If only I would have known. And I think that is what is we're going to be hearing that a lot as things change and people opt into not using an agent to help them buy, but thinking that they can wing it on their own because they, for some reason, just like the guy that tries to sell his own car or buy his own car. My daughter learned that lesson a few times this last year where she bought car. She just bought that Mercedes.
My gosh.
And
You know, I had a
on the
conversation
way-
with her the day before that. I said, don't buy that car.
I did the same
And
thing.
she said, why is that? I said, well, because you're buying a car that when I just paid $2,800 to fix my wife's BMW, and it was a sensor. The FU sensor was bad, I say.
The what sensor?
The FU sensor? The FU sensor was bad. Like, I don't even know. Like, it was $2,800.
Some sensor.
Some sensor. BMW. Bring my wallet.
Yeah.
It's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
So I said, you're buying a car that will cost a lot to repair.
Right.
And then it starts on fire.
On the way home. On the way home.
It seems like there's a little flame.
There's fire shooting out of the air conditioning ducts.
The seller was nice, though, and took the car back.
It took
so
the
that
car
was good.
back, but
Oh,
never.
yeah. Hey, sorry about that.
If only I would have known. So then that comes back to truth arrived at is more powerful than truth heard. So she heard the truth,
Right.
did not accept it. She arrived at that truth on the way home as flames are shooting out of the air conditioning vents. The same thing is going to hold true with a lot of buyers who think that they can waltz into a builder's model, for example, and buy a house and negotiate with someone who does this all day for a living.
Right.
It's pretty easy for a sales rep in a new construction model, and I'm not saying anything bad about them because they're there to sell on behalf of their employer.
Right.
But they can steer them in whatever direction they want because it's nice, bright, shiny object that everybody loves.
Yeah.
And they can lead them right down the garden path. And sometimes they're selling them things or they're offering things that people would be better off unless they have unlimited budgets, to buy this instead of that.
And they incentivize, too.
And the incentives
for using their own kind of inside
to using all the inside tracks, and sometimes those incentives are pretty powerful,
Pretty attractive.
and pretty darn
Many
attractive.
times I've had people sign up to work with me, and they just pay me directly. If there's a house that's off the market or working some facilitator type transaction scenario, but it's not as much.
Not as much. All right, this is your Real Estate Chalk Talk. 612-627-8000. We'll be right back with the big money segment of the program. That's what you've been all waiting for.
But we're going to wrap.
Money in the bank.
Rates are good. Pretty exciting.
You know why? Why?
Free money. You understand what I'm saying?
Welcome back to the program. Free money from Calvin Kamick.
So cheap, it's almost free.
So cheap, it's almost free.
Yep.
Tell us about it.
I'll tell you a little bit about what's going on this week. Rates did not come down. I'll tell you that.
I thought they were coming down.
Oh, they're coming down. They're coming down eventually,
Okay.
right? So, we had a short week this week, so Monday with the bank holiday, there's an extra day of movement that got thrown
Was there a
into
bank
Tuesday.
holiday?
Labor Day.
Labor
Wasn't
Day.
the market open, though?
No.
No.
not
The
Labor
financial markets?
Nope.
So
My bad.
maybe with your amount, maybe
Yeah,
keep
they
things
do
open,
special.
you know.
After-hour
just
trading.
just special.
After he's
for
always
you.
talking about this off-market.
Oh, that was
Off-market.
I bet it was because of overseas ownerships.
Oh, yeah. It's probably your
Oh, yeah,
overseas
yeah,
account.
yeah.
It would be, right? I mean,
yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. Foreign markets. I'm
Foreign
in
market.
a lot of foreign markets.
I
You're
don't
in
know
a
the
lot of
farm
foreign
markets.
Yep.
They're doing a lot of stuff right now. Oh, God. So Tuesday, Wednesday, pretty volatile again. And the reason for that is economic data was strong. Wednesday, there's good correlation between the release of the data, bond market weakness. I mean, same thing. The economy's not hurting yet. But we have all the signs, like we were talking at coffee. You're talking about the worm is
turning in the bottle.
Turning in the
The
bottle.
worm is turning in the bottle. I can feel it in my bones.
Yeah.
Jeez.
You watch.
Ominous.
You watch. At
Yep.
the end of the year, you're going to start seeing sales, liquidation sales, inventory clearance sales.
Yep.
A couple of years ago, you couldn't buy a washer and dryer, and this fall they're going to be giving them away.
Oh, I hope so. I could use a new set.
So there's a lot of that we just see the economy still stay strong. Rates continue to increase. I was looking at rates this morning, and a 15-year fixed 6.5, is right. Kind of that mid-6 range is where you're going to be. 30-year, you're really low 7s to mid-7s, and if you're tough on credit, you're high 7s. I mean, you're paying a point. I had one. We paid 2 points to get to 7.99.
Ooh.
just because credit was banged up. And, it's important to pay stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's important to also, I was talking with a gentleman yesterday who went through a divorce, didn't realize his wife took out 2 HELOCs. So they have a second and a third, and she missed some payments on those.
So why would that impact his credit?
Because he's still on it.
Oh, if only he would have known.
If only he would have known.
If only I would have known.
I wouldn't have done
right?
that.
And
How'd she take off home equity lines of credit with his name on it?
No
with
idea.
him
He
not
had no
knowing?
idea.
Your
He
mother
knew.
did that to me.
He knew.
Your mother did that to me.
Well, you can go
Oh,
take a home equity line of credit, and then you don't have the money, and you have to pay it back. But how is it on your credit? That individual.
because he was still on the
Because
mortgage
he was still. I
What
don't.
mortgage? The original mortgage.
The original mortgage. So that
on the house.
The home equity line of credit is a completely separate loan.
right, but somehow he got tied to it. It showed up as a joint. So on the credit report, it says joint.
Yep.
And then there's a credit card that had late payments that had an A, which meant it was an authorized user. His son missed payments on his credit card, affected his. So he had a strong 564 score based on his ex-wife, HELOC, missed
Strong
payments.
565.
564. Get that one wrapped up.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, by the way, we can, though. 10% down FHA, manual underwrite. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
No
How's the
problem.
rate on that deal?
We are
8.25.
pay a couple points, get you down to 799.
Ooh. Ouch.
799. It's not a bad rate.
15-year mortgage refinanced in 2021,
Mm-hmm.
and it's 2.125%.
Yeah, that's better than
That
it
is
is now.
better.
Yeah, good job.
It is.
So what problem? So rates are kind of. So everybody needs to know mid sevens.
Mm-hmm.
Just think mid sevens.
Give or take a full point.
Yeah,
Up.
give or take a full.
Take.
Yeah. So I mean, what's frustrating is hey, I'd like to get to 699. At least that sounds better than 7, right?
Mhm.
It's not, but I get it. But you're talking 2 points that you're paying a couple percentages. So points are a percent of your loan amount.
So when you're really doing that analysis, then are you looking at what's better, to buy the mortgage down, to take that same money, buy the rate down, or pay down a larger down payment so your mortgage is based on a smaller principal balance? Which is better?
Probably the lower rate for a period of time.
Okay.
I mean, the reality is we're not going to be in this for more than probably a year.
Well, you said that rates were going to come down last May too, so I don't know how. Should
we
we believe that?
I think we can go back to our segment on listening to the experts,
Okay.
which we did.
Yeah.
And then they said May 10th was going to be that magical date if we want to go down that road, and
Uh-huh.
then understand that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not happening. Now I'm seeing stuff that says we're going to stay here. We may go low 8s.
So
for the
next
first
fall,
quarter.
is it next year an election year?
2025 is
2020
when you're going to see the rates.
I think next year.
Is next year an election year?
Yes,
Yes.
it is.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some
So there-
presidential candidates going right now.
Is there?
Yeah.
There's some, I don't
Might
know.
want to engage a little bit again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So here's a question that we always ask. What problem did you solve this past week? What in real estate did you solve?
Well, I don't know if it's a problem solved. I think I think planning is the biggest thing, because we've had conversations with a number of people about what they should be doing in anticipation of their sale next year. So where's the best use of their time and resources to prepare their home for sale next year? And that's really what it is, because I think the longer that we're in this high interest rate environment, the more normalized it's going to become.
Mm-hmm.
And it won't be long, and we won't be talking about it anymore, because it's just, this is what rates are.
Yep.
And I think that the idea that rates are going to go somehow magically down to 4.5% or 5%, it isn't going to happen in any time
Be nice to get
in the foreseeable
Yep.
future.
Mhm.
If economists forecast out, what's going to be like in 5 years, that's just baloney. That's like saying what is the temperature going to be like on July 8th and 4 years from now. Nobody knows. And they don't know what the interest rates are going to be either. But we do know what the trends are. And
Okay.
the trend is not going down. So it's
So the problem you solved, to answer the question, is planning for next year. So we go broke now. What
We're
are you
not going
doing
broke
right
now.
now?
Well, that's
to
I got to eat
find
next year
business?
too.
I know, but I got to eat this year yet.
Well, I'm not doing anything for that. We're working with the business at hand. Some people get divorced, they got to move. Some people, have new jobs, they got to move. Some people are relocating and retiring and moving out of state, they got to sell their house. I mean, all that life business.
Life's still happening.
Still happening.
Okay.
Still going on.
What are you solving?
Okay. So we had an issue where our seller went to the closing table to sign his documents, and there were $20,000 less proceeds to him at closing than he expected.
20,000?
Because there's a street assessment that's kind of hanging out there a little bit.
Oh no.
And you guys are doing the loan for his purchase. Well, now he's $20,000 light on the down payment.
Oh yeah, that's a deal you're not going to get.
That he was going to put down on his next property. So the problem is that these street assessments are in conversation. They're not levied. They're like barely pending even. So there's a gray area there, and the buyer's title company does their due diligence, and this
somehow they found out about it.
This came up, and so now they want 1.5 times the amount of the estimated repairs, which they don't actually have bids on yet. So the repairs probably won't get completed until 2025 at this point.
Okay.
So we had a little bit of a roadblock there, but
how'd you solve it?
The solve is that the buyer assumes the assessments, future assessments.
Okay.
Because they get to have the new alleyway and they get to have the new sidewalks. This guy who's lived there for the last 5 years has had crappy sidewalks and crappy alleyway, and now the new buyer will enjoy, in 2 years if they still live there, I mean, maybe they move within a year and a half or something, we'll get to enjoy those improvements that the city intends to make at some point in the future. So thereby allowing the seller to sell the property and get that additional $20,000 to allow him to then purchase the next property. You guys get to do a loan.
Thank God.
He gets to move. He's all packed up and ready to go. So that's the solve right there.
Nice.
We had a similar one in Burnsville, same scenario where it was an estate, and it's a townhome in Burnhamwood, and there are repairs that need to be made to the exterior of the townhome. That's the owner's responsibility. And there are no estimates, there's no bids. All there is an email from the association that says you got to do this stuff on the outside. And so I'm trying to find out what it is that we have to do on the outside, and nobody seems to know. So finally I had the contractor over there looking at the exterior so that we can look and address all these individual issues, get a price, and the buyer is assuming the responsibility for that future repair, because the buyer is the one that's going to enjoy the repair and enjoy the thing. It's just the ability to be able to do that is the thing, and fortunately it's a rehab loan. The good news is there's resources there to do that painting, make those deck repairs, and whatever it is. The bad news is that's those resources are now not available to do some of the interior stuff that she wanted to do. But
I do want to mention real quick for realtors listening, because we get a lot of realtors listening to the show, we have a renovation seminar coming up on the 20th, so we're going to invite everybody there. You'll see it on social media. We have the guy, Milton, that runs our renovation department nationally. He's great. He's on every call when we're going through it, just kind of walk through the renovation process. So if you don't find the home you love, but you like the bones, there's a lot we can do. So let's talk about that. And love to hear from you. You know, maybe you want to do a little planning for next year. Maybe you want to do something yet this year and just see if there's a chance that you can wrap something up yet this year. We'd love to help you. We have a lot of time left, and we're closing loans literally in 2 to 3 weeks. So love to have the conversation. I'd love my phone to ring more. So 651-231-2500. Just call, say hi.
see you next week.
All right.